Let's Kiki with the Bros, hosted by Brothers in Unity, BIU of Equitas Health. Kiki with the Bros centers honest conversations around the lives of the BIPOC community, the struggles, the success, and the taboos.
Brothers in Unity is an affirmative space of Equitas Health where MSM of color can come together, share like-minded experiences through centering conversations in their day-to-day lives. We will uncover the issues, struggles, and the success of the BIPOC community.
Follow Brothers in Unity on social media for updates on Affinity Space and Kiki with the Kiki with the Bros podcast.
Let's start with some introductions. My name is Fran. What happened? You already. It is a little hot. It's probably the light is right over there. My name is Francisco. I am the prevention program coordinator, but I've been working with Brothers in Unity the last almost 3 years. So we're here doing a podcast. So what's up?
My name's Chris. I am a prevention specialist under BIU. I've been working for Equitas for almost a year now. So yeah, it's been a good journey.
My name is Casey Carter. I'm also under Brothers in Unity / prevention specialist. I'm work in the Dayton district. So yeah.
Okay, y'all, loosen up a little bit. Y'all.
I mean, what's to say?
Okay, so the topic today, our first introduction episode. I think it's important that we just get to some things early on.
Get into some.
I think it's important occupying spaces and the work that we do, that we talk about the impact of drugs and sex in queer spaces. And why do we believe drug use when it comes to people of color, but specifically MSM, so men who have sex with men, or same gender loving men of color, however you want to use that acronym, is so prominent in Black and brown spaces, particularly Black and brown queer spaces. So we just open up with that dialogue. For me, personally, I think that as somebody who started recently, not recently because I'm 27 now, but when I was like 22, when I started navigating queer spaces more, and that was really my first time ever seeing the intersectionality of both existing. I have family that, has been involved in drug use, but I didn't really realize how sex and drugs play such a huge part until I really started occupying queer spaces. And that's not to say like it's just a gay man's problem, but that's the community I occupy. So we can just open up with that.
I personally, I feel like there's a lot of factors that go into why it's so big in these spaces. I feel like a lot of it comes from where they come from in their background, growing up, if they were living in poverty or didn't have that support from their parents, so they look to the streets. As far as like hustling and stuff, like that's probably the biggest thing to me.
So you mean like when you say hustling, you mean like slinging dope or like doing it?
Hustling or like like you have to. I don't want to say prostitution or.
Oh, girl, you made a left.
Yeah, I feel like that all comes into effect. They get hooked on these drugs so young, and then it just progresses later on in life.
What about you, Casey?
I think it's unfortunate. I think for us, it's whatever the easiest drug they can get their hands on.
Okay.
And saying that to say, like, in their community space, whatever it is, if it's easier for them to get their hands on weed, they're going to get their hands on weed. If they can get their hands on coke, they can get their hands on coke. If they can get on alcohol, they can get alcohol. And I think they do that because they already have this DL attitude or mindset. So they take these drugs or do these drugs so that they can just forget about what other people think and they can be themselves. And then that's why I think they do it in our spaces, because it's easy access.
So do y'all have the same experience in terms of it being pretty prominent in spaces that you occupy?
Yes, absolutely.
And do you think it's like normalized, or do you think it's like taboo, like the conversation or even the acts, or like How's that experience for you all?
I think it's more taboo because everybody don't talk about their drug of choice.
Okay.
So, and I think because they don't talk about it, they don't want to be judged because of it. Because somebody might judge you like, oh, you smoke weed? I would never. But that person might, do meth or something. So each person to their own drug.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of shame around it. I think the first, from my experience, like the first thing the girls want to shade you on and say is like, oh, girl, that's why you doing this, putting up your nose. It's a shame. I think it's a lot of shame around the conversation. So that creates like a lot of taboo. But then I think that there's a flip side to it. I think there's people, but in this case, specifically when it comes to gay men that don't care. So I think, which, you know what, for me, from my perspective, I think you should allow people to do what they want to do, as like we do work in like harm reduction and like that space. But also realizing that we as a community sometimes lend to the shame around drugs and sex and the language that we use, especially when people get upset. But as we work,
call them crackhead or something.
Crackhead, like cokehead, all that. So Tina, you do Tina, like that's an insult. That's a way that people insult each other. So I think working in these harm reduction spaces has taught me that you meet people where they're at, but also not creating a space of shame, because we don't understand people's circumstances sometimes, or like why they tend to lead to that. So, I think that that's just some food for thought. What impact has drugs and sex had on you? So, when I say that and ask that question, whether, for me, I'll speak for myself. So I've had friends, family members, particularly like friends navigating queer life, that have, like, especially when I was younger, that tend to, whatever path their life went on in terms of drug use, we do know a lot of times drug use does lend to hypersexuality. And again, I don't really try to judge people. Do what you want to do. But those relationships have become fractured primarily because of the drug use and because of the activity sometimes that lends to happen, or sometimes, situational things happen, and it does become a fracture in our relationship. So that's kind of what I mean. Not asking y'all personally, like, what kind of drugs y'all doing? I mean, y'all can ask or, answer that question if y'all would like, if y'all,
I feel personally, I've just grown up, like, multiple family members have been drug usage. I have an uncle that's been in and out of NA my whole life. So I've like experienced like that aspect of it. Now I feel like in gay spaces and when you get around like certain friends, like you do feel like that peer pressure of like, oh, so you seeing your friends doing this or you see your friends doing that. So you're like, and they're like, oh, do it. And then you feel obligated to do it. I feel like I've definitely been in those type of situations where like I've done drugs and I don't want to say I was pressured, but I guess you do have that peer pressure and you're like, oh, okay, this is the cool thing to do. And like that's why we should never like knock anybody that does certain drugs, because like you said earlier, like you just never know what they're going through. And I personally wouldn't want to do that either because I've been through my own struggles. So just, I guess, more or less creating a safe place for them to feel welcomed and they're not being judged on the type of drugs they're doing. That's really good.
I definitely agree with that. I think it's a lot of times there is pressure there. And I think that's okay to acknowledge that pressure or peer pressure exists, because especially when you're younger and you are trying to, again, navigate life as, at least for us as gay men, that's a whole different experience. So you tend to make friends with people or find people that have that shared experience with you that maybe don't always have the best intentions or like have their own traumas or own experiences in life. And it's not necessarily that you want to fit in, but it's kind of almost like a social experiment. Like you're almost like, I'm here. These things are, this is what everyone's doing. Is this part of the lifestyle? So I think a lot of people succumb to those pressures. And I think especially when you're young and impressionable, that's normal. And Yeah, I think that there shouldn't be a whole lot of shame in that. I think there's a lot of shame around drugs, and then how we talk about sexuality and people, whether it's the use of drugs or just like in general when it comes to sexuality and shame, that's really, really prominent in our community. So why? So outside of that, just out of shame, like people creating social pressures and things of that nature, why is this conversation so taboo? Like even us talking about it, it's probably gonna be like, why are they talking about drugs and sex? Like, but and I don't think for me, I don't want us to identify that as just the identity of like black gay men, black queer men, because it's not one's monolithic, but it's something that is prominent and it does exist.
I think it's more of like generational. Like our parents, our grandparents never really even talked about sex, or even like the drug usage. So like it just like been stowed on upon us that like not talk about it. But I feel like the more you talk about it, the more people are aware what's going on in the society. Especially, I don't want to bring it back to the gay community, but like Tina is really big in the black queer community.
Okay, what's Tina? So the girls don't know.
Oh, Tina is meth.
I'm like, what is Tina? I don't know.
Tuesdays without Tina. That's the Equitas Health program.
Yep,
Plug in.
And that brings me back to like you just never know what people are going through. Like obviously, like no one wants to be hooked on Tina or like fentanyl or pills or anything of the hardcore drugs, but it's just like what life's given them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I'm just like, my thing is, girl, if you want to do Tina, that's your business. Like,
part.
Let's just do
I
it
mean,
safely.
I'm more so because I was in a situation
Okay.
where,
Let them know.
I was, they said, you want to smoke? I'm like, yeah, let's smoke. I thought we was smoking marijuana. No.
It was lace.
Yeah, they was onto something else. I'm like, so
Yeah.
it's like now you gotta identify what you smoke. Cause smoking ain't the same. We either smoking cigarettes, we smoking weed, or we smoking Tina, or
They be putting Tina in weed? No, I didn't know that.
You can, or you could put like coke in there, and then it like basically turns to crack.
I don't know nothing about none of that. All I know is
What was it that you were smoking on the ganja? Outside of
it
that?
wasn't that, but it didn't smell like marijuana. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I don't want it.
Oh, it was like a blunt. It wasn't like out of a pipe or anything.
It was out the pipe.
Oh,
but I've smoked weed out of a pipe too. So
like out of a bong?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
okay.
But it didn't smell like that. So I'm like, I know this ain't weed.
Oh, yeah.
They got you.
Yeah, so
Got you, girl.
but I think I just think that's normalizing the conversation because most people don't like I'm ignorant because clearly I didn't know. I had to go through it to be able to know if I'm gonna do something. Somebody say let's smoke. I need to ask that regardless if I know them or not. Like what you smoking on? Okay. Because you don't know what that person got. Even if they is smoking a blunt, you don't know what they got in there.
I think that's like the same thing of like being straightforward with people when it comes to like getting tested or like their sexual health wellness history. Like it's conversation that we're not having. Like, girl, what's the last time you got tested? Or like, tell your trade on Jack, like, can I see your results? I bet people don't want to have those conversations.
In our community, like when I say our community, like people that work in our industry, we can make that comment. We can have those conversations and not be offended. Mm-hmm. You ain't about to go to nobody in the street and say, when last time you got tested?
That's very true. Like that's not table talk at Union.
Because now you about to shade them because they don't know what you're going to think.
Well, also, and they don't want to like come across as like, I'm starting this awkward conversation and I don't want to ruin the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that part, ruining the moment. That's always what I hear is like, I don't want to ruin the moment. Like, girl, why don't you put a condom on? I didn't want to ruin the moment. You in the heat
better.
Right.
Now the moment is over. It's done.
Yeah, the girls be in the heat of the moment. That's on Tink. And they just want to,
just go ahead.
Go to Pound Town.
Without nothing. Without asking any questions.
I get it.
I mean, sometimes it happens, but we have to.
No
but our goal is to make it more aware that we need to, even in the heat of the moment, we can just say, "You got a condom," and you ain't even gotta go deep. It's either yes or no. And if you say no,
you can
like
make a
all
decision.
Right, now you have the choice to make that decision and say, "I'm either gonna trust this person because I'm this full and I'm drunk enough. I'm just gonna go with it," or I'm gonna be like, "Since you don't have one, I got another question to ask you." And based off that question, it depends on whether we're going to go forward or not.
I feel like the other question, though, should be asked. The other question is, when's the last time you got tested? Mm-hmm. I feel like that should automatically be asked.
But if I'm using a
conjunction.
condom,
But you have to
why
think,
does it
Chris,
matter?
like not everyone. You're thinking from like I work in sexual health, but
Correct,
before you were
you're
doing
right.
that, was you asking everyone?
That's what I'm saying. Absolutely not. Like, no. That's what I'm saying. Not gonna happen.
So you're right. I did get out of that mentality too. Like,
Yeah.
girl, and some people just I can't cuss, right?
Go ahead.
Because I was trying to censor
Some people just want to like.
Yeah, no shade.
No shade. Like they just want
and
to.
they ain't worried about. They're worried about the consequences if
Later.
and later if it may happen.
And I think that's like
Risky. That's what it is.
You know, and we are already vulnerable to and susceptible, and there's that stigma that follows gay men, specifically Black MSM, men of color. But I think in human nature, people just want to have sex, and sometimes that's raw sex. Like,
I mean,
what
but
it is.
it's okay to want to do it, but why we just can't be sure that we both?
Well, you could be sure, but I'm just saying, like that conversation, like we have to be realistic.
I mean,
Like,
we are. I mean,
you know, the
it's not a
conversation.
conversation nobody's going to have on the first day.
Yeah,
Even on a sneaky link, you ain't about to say, "Hey."
Yeah,
One
but
last time you got to.
we might ask because we like, okay, we do
I mean,
work
yeah,
every
we
day,
will, and then
you
that's
know.
automatically a turn off. They're gonna be like, "No." But
Yeah.
if they say no, then what? What you want? Papers?
Yeah, but
See?
you know, I'm a very I had to realize also not everyone is like me.
Yeah.
That's something that I've had to like. What is that?
That's
I'm
not,
very
That's
straight.
not common.
I'm
People
very
ain't walking around with papers like
I'm very.
I'm
We have my
negative.
chart now.
Baby, yeah, let me put up that my chart and screenshot it. I need to
Dang, that's
email your doctor right now.
I do get what you're saying because what Fran said, I definitely wasn't asking these type of questions before I was having sex.
And why wasn't you asking like just like you just was like was it these things or was it just like it's not really it's out of sight out of mind?
I think it's more of out of sight, out of mind thing. Like if you're not really like educated on these type of things, you're not really gonna ask the right questions to like get the right answers.
I think it goes to back to like health literacy and like we have to remember like sex ed taught to queer men is non-existent. I learned how to fleet watching YouTube tutorials and my older homegirls telling me, child, this is how you do it. You don't do it like this.
Yeah.
So, baby, you know, it's very much about community care and looking out for each other.
what is fleet care?
You never.
Not community care. Fleet care, well, you do need to take some care when you are about to fleet.
did, right? I mean,
You don't. Oh. Oh, well.
What is that?
You don't know how to. You've never heard of fleeting? Wait a second.
never like cleaned.
You mean like using an enema?
Oh, okay. I'm used to dushing. That's what I hear.
Oh, dushing. Okay.
But when you
Use the
say,
proper word.
yeah, when you say fleet, I'm like,
well,
what
it's
is
called
that?
a fleet on the. Well, but you got a bulb, like one of the bulb things.
Who? I ain't never bought no box or none of that. What?
Okay, you know. Okay.
I get
You don't know what he's not hip to the utensils,
Well, he probably don't.
the fleeting utensils or the dishing
I've
utensils.
seen it, but I've never experienced it.
He never did. Yeah, because he.
What you trying to say, Chris?
I'm just saying. I'm flabbergasted right now. Like,
Me
what
too.
are y'all talking
Okay,
about?
let me get. Well, this steer the conversation.
You can
steer.
buy,
Hold on a second.
Okay,
No,
don't
you
worry
can
about
buy
it.
an enema. It's a fleet.
but I thought, but
It says fleet on it.
I've seen it before
It's
for
green.
women.
No, baby. There's an anal douche.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're not really supposed to put the liquid inside you though. You just like dump it out and you put water.
Yeah, there's like a saline that you're not supposed to use. You don't want to put that up there. But
or
so,
as a man.
well,
Oh,
anybody
as
who's
anybody.
having
Oh,
anal
as-
sex.
Oh,
because
okay.
it can.
Oh, because it's not for your actual.
No, there's an
Anus is
anal
for-
douche. Like, really, it's not for. I don't know if it was made for like to have anal sex. I think it was made if you're like constipated. But so there's like the most recreational enemas that people use. Shout out to anybody who's watching it and be dushing. Dush and fleet in, Mr. Clean. So basically, most people use the small little dollars fleets.
So when
it
people
says
say
fleet
I
on the
gotta get
bottom.
ready, that's what they mean.
Yeah. Wait. What?
What's going on, Casey? Hold on.
I mean, he been married for. I mean,
You married?
I will be.
Shout
Oh
out
yeah,
to
you're
Casey.
getting me out.
Yeah.
Well, I ain't.
But I mean, I've been out of the game for a while. But
Well, okay, hold on.
Yeah, Casey, we gotta bring it to sex.
Well, you don't have to be in the game to know. Okay, but come back to what I was saying about fleeting. So basically, there's a fleet enema that most people use. That I mean, it's like the $1.51. How much? How much?
Yeah,
$1.50.
Kroger.
You know, the good old reliable. You go to Kroger's, Target. You know, you can get a 4-pack. My friend bought me a 4-pack for my birthday one time. You know, it's a joke. So it's a Kiki with the bros. So
That's exactly what that was.
yeah. So, anyways, you get a 4-pack, or you can get whatever one you want, and you jump out the saline. Most people don't use the saline wash that's in there. I don't know if it's saline wash or whatever it is. Just don't put it up there. It's just
With
no.
whatever that is.
You want nice,
Lukewarm water.
Lukewarm water to clean up there. Do what you got to do, not to be too. I mean, you just do it until the water's clear when it comes out. And, even if it came out clear, you might want to keep doing it again.
Yeah, like it's not.
Make sure you don't do some backflips, maybe squirt in the mirror.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, make sure everything is getting up into those intestines.
They have different ones too. Like he said earlier, there's a bulb. I personally have like a shower connection.
But I heard that's like a lot of pressure up there.
You don't have to put the whole pressure.
Because there's different head. Like I have one. I just haven't attached it.
You do that in the shower?
I mean,
But it don't come.
No, baby.
No.
I just go to the.
You put it up there and then you go into the toilet.
He got a shower one.
Yeah, you in the shower, the head's from the shower, and then like you put it, you'll do, and then you get out the
bathtub.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you go to the toilet. It's right there.
Okay, well that's we just
we're giving you bottom
101. I mean, Chris doesn't know nothing about bottoming, but
I'm a top.
But anyway, so for real. So like, how do y'all think we create spaces without shame around the use of drugs and sex? Well, the act of sex or drugs and the intersectionality of drugs and sex together. How does we create spaces that are not shameful for people to talk openly and engage with conversations where they feel like, I know people who don't even talk to their homegirls about who they messing around with, what they do in their free time. That's how I found, like, to me, from my experience, I thought I'm a welcoming spirit. I feel like I'm, pretty open
They say
to
you're
things.
really closed off.
Not even that. Like, I've had friends where I found out things about them, and everyone does things out the closed doors. But I thought we had a relationship to where,
I've had the same.
damn, girl, I found this down the street.
We was like this.
I thought this was my bestie, girl. Like, we talk about everything else, girl. We talk about everyone else's tea.
Never said a word.
But they didn't feel comfortable sharing those things with me, which I felt
Yes.
SDS, no shame. Look it up if you don't know what that means. Yeah. So I always thought I was a welcoming person or like a personable person, that I've just had relationships in the past where I just was like kind of surprised that they didn't feel comfortable speaking to me. And I was like, I had to look at myself like, girl, are you not cultivating a space, or do they feel like you're going to shame them? So I had to check myself. But have any of y'all had that?
I feel like personally, like everyone does feel like that shame around sex, like where I feel like I've never like said certain things to my friends because I personally didn't want to get judged. But I feel like it's more like it might not even be you personally. It might be the person that doesn't feel comfortable, but it's them breaking that barrier with themselves and not just like other people. Like the person has to feel comfortable admitting or just acknowledging what they're going through or what happened,
Okay.
Yeah, like you can create the space for people, but are people willing to open up and be vulnerable too, I feel like there's both sides of that question.
Right. I definitely agree. I think vulnerability is something that's not taught to gay men.
I think it's definitely not taught, but I think when you have, like me and my friends, we can talk about it. Like, we can talk about it.
Okay.
Like,
y'all be talking about everything.
talk about it. Like, oh.
Do you be like, okay, girl, like that's a bit much?
I mean, but we can key about it. But it's no judgment. Like, you might say like, oh, bitch, I painted a little bit. Oh,
wait. That's why you need.
But if you did, but we have that space to where we are comfortable enough to say that and not feel judged because.
Yeah, like this, my friends.
It happens.
Yeah, girl. I mean, you know what you're dealing with. So
apparently so. But I mean, to each his own. But
same things happen. Oopsie.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So I ran out of stuff on these cue cards.
I do have a question though. I think it goes back to like kind of the first question or it's not really a question, about you're like sex and drugs and how does it get into these spaces? I feel like another big thing is our older generation, like the older gays, preying on the
Praying.
because they be creeps.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. I'm sorry. Shout out to
my older gays. Shout out to my, well, not even older.
Y'all better not say no names.
Not shout out to not even older. Seasoned. It's a blessing.
What's
to
considered
get older?
seasoned?
So let me say that. Let me preface this. It's a
Because
blessing
y'all
to
both
get
still
older.
in y'all 20s.
Chris is barely in her 20s.
okay,
still.
you're really trying.
But I've been out of my 20s, so what's season to y'all?
Season probably like full 50s.
No, season in
60s?
gay years is like 35, girl. Let's be real.
Damn, I'm 30.
Yeah.
I'm about to be 35. Do I look seasoned to you?
No shade.
No, but you've been around the block.
No, I haven't.
Well, not literally, but maybe around the corner.
I mean, yeah, I know about a few things.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that fleeting, but
I'm surprised.
You ain't never heard.
I heard of douching. But I mean, I've never. When you broke it down, I now
Never
have
heard
a.
it, bro. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I heard
described that
people
way.
doing it, like But now that you broke it, I'm like, oh,
You
so that's
never
what that
tried
means
it
when
out for yourself, like one time for the one.
Well, if he ain't about to be doing it,
No,
down
it's
there.
good to clean yourself out.
I don't have a desire to do that.
Okay, well that's your body, your choice.
He probably has regular.
Bowel movement.
Yes.
Girl, okay. You don't, because you doing it.
The top.
Stop playing me.
I'm weak.
Well,
Shout out to my tops out there.
shout out to the tops. Yeah, for sure.
Actually, shout out to my verses.
Okay, shout out to the verses.
I feel like everyone
Or verse
is kind
people.
of verse in a way.
I mean, I agree.
What is a verse? Let's talk about that. What do you consider a verse?
Oh,
Well,
they're about to eat us up on the downside.
so there's people take it different.
If we're gonna talk about it, I mean,
like
what's a verse?
I feel like,
Because I feel like I'm versatile, but
shout out to the older gays because they always told me like, girl, you about to be versed when you get older, right? Like it was like when you turn, because when I
you gonna
started,
get over it.
yeah, because when you're younger, you want to, from my vantage point and my experience. Now that I'm becoming one of the elders and I'm around the younger girls,
You ain't gonna let one of those young girls climb your back.
I was even about to say go inside and
Dang.
I was gonna say
Well, because you said-
it's very like they want to stick, like they feel like, I don't know if it's like, what is the word I'm looking for? Like, not gender norm. Well, yeah, there's like gender norms in like the
Gay community,
which is very strange to me. Or they feel like they got to stick, if the guy's not too masculine, they're like, oh, he can't climb my back. And, I get it, preference or whatever, but what's your preference rooted in? No see, no shade, sis. Like, what's your preference really rooted in? And I think there's like, when people use the word preference, I always wonder, like, girl, what does that come? You want a piece of tray climb your back, but you don't want the femme girls climb your back. Girl, just say that. Girl, just keep it real. Like, that's what,
all-
or a
say
butch
that.
queen.
Yeah, no.
But
No, it's a bitch queen to you.
We got to be in a relationship.
Gotcha.
That's automatic. So I don't.
what happened?
I don't do it. It's been
Do what?
at least 10 years since I've done it. So I've never done
Why
that.
you whispering, girl?
I said butch queen.
Oh, you know what about a butch queen?
Oh no,
though?
I never did that. No.
Oh, you're talking about bottoming.
Yeah, period.
Gotcha.
I got a confusion here.
Oh no.
Oh, you don't do that unless you're in a relationship.
What's the butch queen?
Oh, can't see.
Okay, hold on. Let's go back to the verses.
Okay, hold on. Let's talk about verses. Then we'll get to butch queens because there's a lot of versy butch queens. Anyways, so I think that anyways, like I was saying, like when I was younger, they was like, "Oh, girl, you gonna become versed and all this other stuff." You just get young right now, being stupid. Best of both worlds, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't consider myself a verse, but I would definitely say that what I like is different than I was when I was younger.
That's what they were saying. Like, so I realized in the gay community, most gay people that are not yo come out as bottoms, and then and it's unfortunate as the more they come out, the more they experience. Oh, because then they start topping, and like, oh, they might find that one person that like, oh, I want you to top me, and then they start topping and I only say that because in my life I've heard this conversation over and over, and I see it like, oh, you a big old bottom, but 5 years later, you topping? And I can't. My mind can't even fathom that.
Them gender norms be tearing the girls up because, girl, I be knowing the most masculine
and we'll
gay
bend it
men.
right over.
Okay,
right over.
and they
because they started
but
off
I'm just like, you probably shouldn't prejudge.
They started off topping. They started off like, oh, I ain't gonna never do that. I ain't gonna never do that. But they started inching and inching and inching. Now you're bending it open.
Well, maybe they verse
you busting
now.
it open.
But I feel like that comes to like, what is the verse? Like Chris said, like, what is the verse, honey? No, like,
I feel like for me, a verse is somebody
do what you want to do in the bedroom.
that do not mind
Doing both.
doing both in a certain sense. Because I mean, I don't think penetration to both partners means you're versatile.
No.
I think being versatile means I'm not a free spirit, but you can mess with me from head to toe. You know, whatever you want to do.
Boundaries.
There's no boundaries
or limits.
besides that one.
Oh, like, okay.
Yeah.
Because
Because that's an understanding.
I think like some guys
because there's straight dudes that say, I'm a top, but I'll let you lick my ass. Or I mean, there's a top dude that say I'll let you lick my ass. Would you consider him verse?
No, I wouldn't consider him gay either. Well, you said a top, or would you say? Did you say
he did say straight?
Oh yeah, he's
not straight. I'm sorry, not straight, but a top dude that'll say I'll let you.
Like they butt 8.
And but what he let you do everything but f- him, so you wouldn't consider him versatile.
No,
because he don't. Correct. So in your mind, versatile is only penetration to penetration.
I think it's subjective. Clearly,
I think it's subjective. The way we're talking about it, yeah.
I think there's a lot of guys just like they're verse or whatever, but they're very like, I'm not top. I will only bottom for a certain type of guy. It goes back to them gender norms, knocking the girls upside the head. Like I just think it's always, but it also is like I really stopped like trying to figure it out too with guys like. They're all over the place, like gay men are like when it comes to dating or talk, shout out to my gay men, but it'd be all over the place sometimes. So like I was like, don't even care because I know guys that I've talked to or dated or messed around with that, someone may find out or say something to me or I might key in with somebody and they're like, girl, I thought he was the big old bottom and the whole time he's my top to me. So you're like,
oh no, that's terrible.
Okay. I'm like, what you talking about?
Yeah, but also I feel like what you're saying, I feel like it goes back to...
Is that too long? Oh, okay.
I feel like even like the gender norms where it goes back to like bottoms don't like when their tops have bottom before. I feel like that's...
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. And I think that takes it back to when he said about, bottoms don't want the girls to climb their back. They only want a masculine man.
Yeah.
So they only want a masculine man or a DL dude. They just can't.
It's so weird.
It's crazy because overall, you just like to be penetrated, and it don't matter who really.
I feel like if you really liking somebody and you're vibing with somebody, like it doesn't matter if they're masculine or not.
But that's why I consider myself versed, because in a relationship, I don't mind doing that. But out here in the streets, absolutely not.
So hold on. When I get to get in your business,
that's okay.
But you're versed in your relationship. You're currently in a relationship. Shout out to Kiki. He's getting married next year. I think this is something that's normal.
But I'm more top in my relationship than I am bottom.
Because I was going to ask because you didn't know nothing about fleeting, I was confused.
In my relationship, we have conversations like, I want you to ask for it. Like, that won't happen. I'm not. Because I don't yearn for that.
I see what you mean.
I don't desire for that.
If your partner wants you to do
because I love you, I will do this for you occasionally when you want it. But it ain't going to be no...
One time for the one.
Yeah, it ain't going to be no 2 days in a row. Not going to happen.
Okay.
I feel the same way. Like, if my partner wanted me to do the opposite, I probably would too.
Yeah, so I mean, that's when I say, what you mean when you say verse?
Because you're a top.
Yeah.
Well, you get what we trying to say. You get it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a lot. But I feel like for me, I stopped really. So we go back to Butch Queen because you said you didn't know what a Butch Queen was. So Butch Queen, shout out to my Butch Queens.
Shout out to the Butch Queens.
That's my favorite type of gay man.
Me too.
Okay, I can say that, right? Like that's my favorite kind.
I mean, you got
to date. So because Butch Queens is like a gay man that's in touch with his femininity and his masculinity. Like has a good balance. Whatever you find is a good balance for you and your preference.
No.
What would I be considered?
Casey's a Butch Queen.
What would I be considered?
I consider Butch Queen. Why did you not consider? Because he got
I've never. Well, actually, you could be considered
forces on.
I've never seen you touch into your like feminine side.
You haven't.
So no.
Oh.
I don't. I feel like I've only.
You think he's mass for mass set?
I think you're more mass presenting.
Cause more mass presented than me and you, yeah. But
For sure.
But Butch, I still feel like he's a Butch queen. I feel like
is there levels to it? Like,
I mean, it's levels to be a bad bitch. I mean,
that part. I don't think there's levels to it. I just think like for me as somebody who I think for me as somebody who I think personally I like my balance, but I guess everyone, whatever that balance looks like for you and like what your I don't even like that word preference. What's another word? Because that's raggedy to me.
Type?
Your type, or
I mean, it's okay.
I feel like it really depends on the person though, because I like some guys that are.
I have a type. I don't think that's a negative thing to say.
I don't think it's a negative thing to say, but I mean,
is it rude to say
you're not my type? No,
I feel like it's rude when you like bring in like other situations, like I don't want. Like we could bring it back to the
no fats and no femmes. Like
that's
like
no druggies, no nothing.
That's like
that.
Okay, so what's your preference rooted in, sweetheart? That's why, or your type.
I mean, it goes back to how they were raised or what they've been through.
I don't really.
Some people like I've seen
drugs
drugs so much in my life. I refuse to date anybody that does drugs.
Yeah.
That's just their preference.
Yeah. You like what you like. I understand that. I think it also depends on the person for me. As I've gotten older, I'm like I really don't get into all that. Like I think before when I was younger, I was like
you had your own image of a person that you
I was like, I wanted the trade or something. I'm like,
and now it's like,
okay. No, like I really would like you. For me, I would like to. You want to be loved outwardly, so I think go to like dating. It's one thing about hooking up, I guess, but I think being in a relationship, you want to be loved outwardly and like freely. And
that part.
I think gay men that love themselves are able to do that to other gay men. That's important. We don't really necessarily see that a lot. I think that goes to like there's a lot of like situational, non-committal relationships, which maybe commitment isn't your thing, but I don't really see, it's not really prominent for me. I don't really see it a lot. I mean, shout out to you. You've been in your relationship for a long time, but it's not normal. So
like, I ain't been committed a long time.
Ooh.
But I mean, but he knows that. I mean, but commitment is something that you have to learn.
Because of you or because
for both of us. I mean, we just had to, we literally had to be in a position to learn each other and grow together.
That's fair.
We didn't get it. We didn't learn these things from our parents. But we knew we was in a position that we loved each other enough to where I will learn how to be committed to you. I will learn how to say no. I'm going to learn how to delete my jack. I'm going to learn how to delete all of that. And I'm going to learn how to just pay attention. Make my eyes just for you. I'm going to figure it out. But you got to be with that one person that want to do it.
You didn't want to do it like an open set?
Like what?
Like an open relationship.
We thought about it. I mean, we do other things with other people, but I mean.
You said what? Oh, you got third.
Oh, y'all have threesomes. I know that's right.
It's like six.
Six.
You have 6 of them?
Total of us.
Oh, y'all had an orgy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
That's how y'all get down and shout out to
I mean, but we're experiencing our sexualities together. So I mean,
I like that.
That's healthy for a relationship.
Yeah, you was having fun.
We just having fun.
Yeah, no shade. So you had to download Jack for that, or you knew them?
No, I didn't know them.
Oh, girl, you met them at what's the bar down in where's y'all?
Now some of this is gonna be blurted out, right? Okay.
I do want to touch back.
They're gonna have to edit.
They're gonna have to edit. Like, why would you go on there?
I do actually want to touch back on what you're saying, like preferences.
Okay.
I do feel like everyone does have their preference, and your preference is your own. But I feel like when your preferences start coming from ignorance, that's when I have to like look at you differently. Like you're like it's just being ignorant and not really like taking the fact of like someone just being an actual human being.
Right. That's why I had to learn how to check myself. And I think as I just got older, your experiences changed. So like now, like the kind of guy I like now is way different from when I was like 22, 23.
I think it's about how you respond to it because even though you both just seen how ignorant I was to fleeting, you didn't put me in a position or make me feel as if I was stupid or I was rude or disrespectful. You know, you just
educate somebody.
You just educated me. So I think it's about how you perceive how ignorant that person is, because you be like, oh, you just ignorant. Or or maybe they clearly just don't know. Like, even though I'm in the gay world, I'm about to be married to a gay man, I still didn't know.
Yeah, there's probably things I don't know either.
Yeah, so
no, I feel like I'm gonna know
it's
it
like
all.
tomato, to each his own.
To each his own. Yeah.
For real. Okay, like, I mean, that makes sense. And shout out to the Butch Queens.
Shout out to the Butch Queens.
I live for a Butch Queen, so I'm happy I'm really surprised you didn't know what a Butch Queen was.
I'm still trying to learn the lingo.
But do you feel that like maybe people in like smaller cities, they don't have that exposure to like the gay community?
When I moved to Columbus, no lie, I didn't know what Tina was. Living in Dayton.
Not a Columbus thing. They don't do that in Dayton. I don't believe that.
I ain't gonna say they don't do it, but
right, Jared?
not in my circle. We don't talk about it. But in Columbus, it's so many more people that do it. It's common. So when they say you know Tina, who in the hell is Tina?
But you said in Dayton it's it's
well, I'm saying it's not as common.
Well, I meant like in Dayton. I remember you saying to me like a while ago, like it's not, people aren't as social. Like gay community's not as social in Dayton too. Like around each other, like down to the club, down to and stuff. I think here, I do feel like it's divisive in Columbus in terms of like when it comes, there's not really a space where I guess that is designated to Black queer people or people of color that happen to be queer. But so we kind of occupy the same space, but there's still a lot of segregation between communities that's present. And when those spaces come together, I mean, no shade, shout out to my Columbus gay bars, but it's very prominent to see people doing it in the bathroom. And you ain't never go down to, I ain't gonna name certain bars because
I was about to name one, but I ain't gonna say it.
I ain't gonna name certain. Y'all can take that out. Y'all can take
every gay bar, not just one.
She's classy. I don't really see that. I don't really
I doubt it. I doubt every gay
a little classy. You smell like piss
in there at least doing coke.
Okay, well, blank them out though, because we be trying to use. But yeah. I'm really surprised that it's not as common today because I don't feel like there's nothing else to do. But now, shout out to that again.
I mean, there's literally nothing to do. That's why for me, building Brothers in Unity and Dayton is so important because
it's probably happening.
We literally have no space where Black people can come together and not be judged and just come together, have fun, and be who we gonna be. And I'm trying to break that stigma of whatever stigma they have in their own mind and be like, this is literally gonna be a safe space. We can come together and we're gonna have fun. We can do whatever. We're gonna eat and we just gonna congregate.
Shout out to Brothers in Unity Dayton.
Yeah, so that's the goal. Like I'm trying to get them to come outside.
Okay, shout out. Yeah, I could see that. I feel like it's kind of the same here-ish. Like, yes, it's hard. It's a lot of what it comes from, honestly, is the reality is like either whether it's people have, what did I say? You there?
Round it up. So you may close us out.
Okay, well, we're almost done. Hold on. I think it comes back to our conversation about stigma and like people and shame and like those interpersonal relationships. I think sometimes these programs are hard to build because people either have perceptions of like what's going to happen when you put a bunch of gay men together in a space. People have, their own personal issues or, whatever, like their own what's it called? Unperceived
perception?
Child. Perceived connotations, I don't know, messed that up. Perceived notion, something like that, yeah, where you don't know what to expect. So it's actually creating intentional safe spaces where people feel welcomed and it's like centric around like actually building community. But like drama and stuff, that happens in every community, every space, everyone deals with it. I think there's a lot more I guess maybe because we occupy that space and that's our lived experience. Yeah. Like we feel like it's real, like dire and like it's always some drama or like it's always going to be a problem. And I think that our jobs are just like to break down that barrier. And I think that that's why we've created Brothers in Unity in its inception, and shout out to those who were doing the program prior. The multiple people that I've worked with the entirety. When I was going to Brothers in Unity initially, I was going as a community member, and so was Chris.
Same, yeah.
Before we started working for the program and running the affinity space. So shout out to everybody who's like helped build the program and created sustainability. And I hope that we can continue to do so moving forward. And we enjoy the opportunities to experience that and create the space and utilize this platform as well. So shout out to Kiki with the Bros.
Kiki with the Bros.
With the Bros. Brothers in Unity.